Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today for day 3 of our study.
Camp.
Day 1, we talked about Abraham
Uh-huh.
and where he went, he worshiped. Where you're camped, you should be
Worship.
worshiping.
Yep. Day 2, we talked about Lot and how he camped in compromise, and it led to his destruction.
So we know our takeaway was don't camp and compromise.
Yeah.
Day 3, we're going to learn about a couple books
Yeah.
for
we're
the
going-
6th book of the Bible.
Right. We're going to talk about a man named Achan, but we're in Joshua chapters 6 and 7.
Yeah. And so we'll give you a rundown on Joshua. We're kind of running a little bit quick on this for this reason. We've already done this video 4 times. And we apologize for any slurring of our words.
It's late. We're tired and we're out. This is the first time we've been together all day. And
Yeah.
so
here we are. And we want to
bear with
share
us.
our time together with you. So we're going to try to talk best as we can.
yeah. So leading up to this.
Recap.
Recap.
Recap. I told you we'd do it.
Yeah.
So recap. Joshua is, let's see.
Is
Moses,
the leader after Moses.
Yeah, Moses has brought the people of Israel out of Egypt, the place
Mm-hmm.
of bondage, taken them to the wilderness, and they were getting ready to cross to the promised land. And God, I think Moses sent spies in. There was 12 spies that went. 10 of those spies came back and said, the giants are too big. We can't do the land by ourselves. But Joshua and Caleb said, we can whoop all of them.
Yeah.
Because we've got God.
And so because of their faithfulness, even though the people refused to go in, because of their faithfulness, they got to go into the promised land, even though that whole generation that was like their same age had to die before they could go.
Yeah, it would take 40 years after the rejection of the people to go to the promised land for Joshua and Caleb to be able to lead them in.
Yeah.
So whenever God tells Joshua, it's time. Moses
Yeah.
passed away. It's time to get into the promised land. Joshua sends spies in, just like they had before. But these spies are ready. They're a different breed. They're ready to go. They go throughout the land and they come to Jericho. Jericho's important because we need to know how to defeat Jericho. Jericho's going to be the first fruits city, meaning that it's going to be totally dedicated unto God. Everything in it, living, breathing, is going to die. Everything in it is going to be burned. And anything that is left over is God's and God's alone. We are not supposed to take any of it. And so he sends those spies in, and those spies end up getting kind of, people start seeing them and going, something's up, and the spies stop at an inn. And we're not sure what kind of an inn this is, but they went there.
Right.
And Rahab, which we
Our translations usually say Rahab the harlot.
and that may not be 100% true. The actual word could be that, but it also could just be simply innkeeper.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of
There's speculation both ways, but
yeah, you can speculate either way you want, whatever you feel comfortable with.
anyway, she chooses to hide the spies.
Yeah.
So she chooses to put her life in danger to hide these spies, and ultimately chooses to preserve her life by believing in the God of the Israelites and believing that they will win. God will let them win and take over her city. And so she aligns herself with the Israelites in return for her own safety and the safety of anybody who she can get in her house.
Right. And the interesting thing is, as a sign that it was her house, she had to put a
Red scarlet cord out the window.
Yeah. And
Because her house was built into the city wall, because Jericho is a fortified city. So that means it's walled all the way around.
yeah. Now understand that whenever the walls of Jericho fall, it doesn't say that every wall falls, but it does say that the walls, plural, come down. Now her house being built in the side, it wouldn't have collapsed. It probably would have been a bigger side of the city, but nonetheless, the walls did come down. And actually, if you look at it, some researchers or historians and archaeologists believe they found Jericho.
Yeah. I believe they fell as a ramp,
Yeah.
right? That let the people run up into the city.
Yeah.
Then
When the walls collapsed, it collapsed down into the sides, hillside, and it made a ramp. And that's why the Bible says, and they ran up into. And so Rahab had to make a choice here. When she's seen these spies, do I honor this God who I've heard about, who makes my heart quake? I think I will. So, and like Brandy said, the deal that they made with her was, as long as your people are in this house, we will make sure that we pass over and we do not kill them. But anybody who goes outside your house will die. Yeah. It's important for you and us to remember that those who are in our house are our responsibility. And we need to do our very best to protect them, to defend them, to make sure that we're making godly choices in our home so that way they don't have destruction upon them. Because of her faithfulness, she and her family were saved and able to
assimilate
Assimilate.
into the Israelite people,
which is pretty wonderful.
which means like they became them. They like their God was God. Like they were part of him.
We'll go back to what we said yesterday about
Ruth, yeah.
Ruth and Naomi.
Yeah.
Your God will be my God, your people my people.
Right. Ruth assimilated into the Israelite people.
Yeah.
So I want to read in Joshua 6, 17 through 19, just this little portion because it's going to be really important. And it says, the city, that being Jericho, shall be under the ban. It and all that is in it belongs to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot and all who are with her in the house shall live, because she hid the messengers who we sent. But as for you, only keep yourselves from the things under the ban, so that you do not covet them and take some of the things under the ban, and make the camp of Israel accursed and bring trouble on it. But all the silver and gold and articles of bronze and iron are holy to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord. So very clear here.
Yeah. Don't take anything from Jericho.
Yeah.
And even the curse is told.
Yeah.
If you do this, you will curse
The
yourself.
whole camp. No, the whole camp of Israelites.
So you're saying that if I sin in my own tent, that the whole camp is cursed.
Yeah. So God forewarns. God tells them this is exactly what's happening. And I think it's actually repeated more than once in chapter 6. And so now we start chapter 7. You ready?
Yep. Let's dive in.
So it just says, but the sons of Israel acted unfaithfully in regard to the things under the ban. So they've conquered Jericho. The walls came tumbling down. The people went in.
Decimated everything. It was all
Rahab
good.
was saved. Everything's done. It's over.
We did
Okay.
it. Josh was on a high. Yes, we did it.
And so actually the last verse in chapter 6 says, so the Lord was with Joshua and his fame was in all the land. So this was a big deal.
Everybody's like, wow.
Like victory. Woohoo.
Yeah, because they just literally, how did they defeat Jericho? They marched around it for 7 days, one time a day, and then on the last day they marched 7 times, and then they shouted horns.
Yeah.
The walls came tumbling down. Could you imagine that story going throughout the countryside?
Yeah, they're like, they didn't have to fight us.
Are you
Their
kidding?
God is so with them.
Yeah, he just ripped the walls down, and then they just ran up into Jericho.
And killed everybody.
Yeah,
Like,
everything's gone.
yeah, that would spread throughout the land.
And not only that, but then they hear, well, they took the spoils. Actually, they didn't. They
Yeah.
burned, they killed, they did everything, and then all that stuff, they just stuck it in the treasury of their God.
Yeah.
Like, you're going, what?
Right, that's a story you take note of. And so that's why, so we have that, like, this is amazing, this is amazing. And then chapter 7 says, but. So, but the sons.
That word
I
in the
know it's the
Bible.
worst,
It's
right?
like, yay, it's a
You're like,
high.
oh, it's so good, they're doing good.
But.
You're like, oh, it's about to turn.
However,
But the sons of Israel acted unfaithfully in regard to those things under the ban. For Achan,
who was Achan? He's Achan. What a mess.
the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah, took some of the things under the ban. Therefore, the anger of the Lord burned against the sons of Israel.
One man did something stupid. God goes, I'm mad at all.
All. Everybody's cursed.
Because you did sin in your house.
Right. And isn't there that thing of like, there was no accountability? You know, like, yes, it was Achan's fault, but somebody probably saw what Achan did.
Yeah.
We know his family sees what's going on.
Well, we hope. I mean, I don't know how you live in the same tent with somebody and you're able to hide
Right.
that stuff. But let's read on.
So I think you just kind of need to hear. So it says, now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai,
We talked about this in video 1.
which is near Beth Aven, east of Bethel, and said to them, go up and spy out the land. So the men went up and spied out Ai. They returned to Joshua and said to him, do not let all the people go up. Only about 2,000 or 3,000 men need to go to Ai.
Yeah, this isn't going to be hard. We'll be
Do
fine.
not make all the people toil up there, for they are few. So about 3,000 men went up from the people, from the people went up there, but they fled from the men of Ai. The men of Ai struck down about 36 of their men and pursued them from the gate as far as Shebarim and struck them down on the descent. So the hearts of the people melted and became as water.
So imagine that. You've got an army that you're saying, well, we don't need to take everybody, just take a couple of them. And they go up there with 3,000 men to go whoop this small town, and they get it handed to them. I mean, men are dying. What'd you say, 36?
Yeah, 36.
36 die by the men of Ai. That's 36 men lost their life because,
so here's what happens. So Joshua tears his clothes when he figures out the news, the report. And he fell on the earth on his face before the ark of the Lord until the evening, both he and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. Because I don't think they lost anybody in the Battle of Jericho, did they?
There's no record of loss.
No. And so they're like, wait a second,
But
people are dying.
Jericho was known as the capital city of the area. Like, this was not a city that was going to fall.
And so they're like, well, if people are dying, we obviously did something wrong.
Right.
And so Joshua said, alas, O Lord God, why did you ever bring the people over the Jordan, only to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been willing to dwell beyond the Jordan. O Lord, what can I say, since Israel has turned their back before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land will hear of it, and they will surround us and cut off our name from the earth. And what will you do for your great name? So the Lord said to Joshua, rise up. Why is it that you have fallen on your face? Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. And they have even taken some of the things under the ban and have both stolen and deceived. Moreover, they have also put them among their own things.
What was dedicated to God, man, Achan had taken and made it all about him.
Yeah, and thought he was going to get away with it.
Yeah. Well, but imagine.
And did for a minute.
Yeah, he evidently didn't go into war.
Yeah, he was not one of the guys.
Yeah, he wasn't. And so he's in his tent harboring stuff, whatever it is that he takes, and which I know, but I'm trying to, you may not know yet, so I don't want to spoil it. And Joshua's going, what has happened? How did we lose 36 men to a city that should have been easily conquered? I mean, we defeated Jericho, like the Fort Knox of the area, and you're telling me that Ai, this little bitty town, whooped us like that? We were so scared we turned around.
Yeah.
How did we turn around with God on our side? God, where are you? And he's going back to this thing of like, man, I would rather us have stayed on the other side of the Jordan, meaning the wilderness, than be here and be defeated. Maybe we should have just been happy with you, God, meeting our every need.
Right, and so that's the thing is, yes, they're in trouble for what Achan did. They're also in trouble here because when it came to figuring out the battle strategy for Jericho, they consulted the Lord and they went with the Lord's plan.
Yeah, he didn't pray.
But with Ai, they were like, go send some guys up. Oh, it sounds easy. Let's just send them.
Right.
They got proud of their own abilities and forgot that it was God that had given them the victory in the first place.
Right.
So there's two things going on here. It's not all Achan, but it's a lot Achan.
Well, it's Achan for the curse.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, hear Joshua's mind. This is just a side note. This is a purpose. Hear his side note there saying, I wish we would have went back to the place where God provided our every need. Go to the wilderness, where we are fed by manna every day. God has not called you to be in a place where he has to hand feed you manna every day. Yeah. He has not called you to be, there's seasons of that. There are seasons of that. Where you have to live just in, God, I don't know where else we go. I don't know what else we do. We know those seasons, don't we? I'm in total dependence on you. But there is a time where he says, I want you to cross the Jordan and I want you to multiply.
Yeah.
I want you to do big things and amazing things. But you must continue the heart of relying on me. You have to rely on me.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the free food anymore. You're going to have to, but you're going to get vineyards that you didn't plant, and you're going to have homes that you didn't build. You will go from relying on God to feed you and meet your needs to living in the abundance of God.
Right.
You've got to be willing to get up and move camp. Okay, that's not part of our thing, but if you want to camp in the wilderness of just God meet my every need, then you'll stay there for 40 plus years. But if you're like Joshua, the Bible says him and Caleb were men of different spirits. You say, God, I love the manna. God, I trust you. But God, I want to take down the enemy.
Yeah.
God, I want to storm
plan.
across.
I want to go with your plan. I want to see your plan like at its fruition.
Yeah. That I want to take the kingdom by force.
Yeah, I don't want to keep living in the someday.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to be in the promised land.
Yeah.
Someday. No, he's like, oh no, we get to be a part of this. Let's do it.
Let's do it right now. Let's go live in the abundance. And so that's a side note. Let's go back to what we're talking about.
Okay, so this is God still talking, and he says, "Therefore, the sons of Israel cannot stand before their enemies. They turn their backs before their enemies, for they have become accursed. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy the things under the ban from your midst."
Apply this in your house right now. Are there things in your house that are causing brokenness?
Yeah.
Are there things in your house right now that God's saying, I cannot be with you, I cannot bless you, we cannot go any further if you're allowing those things to have precedence over me? If those are more important than surrendering them to me, then I will not go any further with you.
Yeah, we talked about this when we were just talking on the phone about how we were going to do this one. And Izzy pointed out that there's a difference between Lot took his home and put it into sin. There was sin on every side. So it was only a matter of time
Just like Rahab.
before the sin came in.
Yeah, Rahab was in Jericho. She was covered with sin. It's all around us. Lot chose to get there. Rahab maybe was raised in it.
Yeah.
But there's a choice that has to be made.
But with Achan, his tent is obviously camped in that of righteousness, in that of God's people.
In the camp of God's people.
He's surrounded by God's people all around. But what he does is he brings sin in to his tent. And then it goes out. So sin works both ways.
Well, look, what tribe is he of?
Judah.
So where would they be when we're talking about being close to the tabernacle?
I don't know. I always forget how they did that. Because Judah's like one of the biggest, or the biggest. Still the biggest at this point.
I don't know. I can't tell you.
And I know that they had strategic ways that they would camp. Like usually in the shape of like a cross, I think. So it's east and west.
But they would have been closer,
North and south.
I believe. I could be wrong about this, but I think it's closer to the tabernacle.
I don't know. That's something to look up too. Look up.
Look it up on your phone. We'll pause just for a moment.
No.
Now that we're back. The Levites would have been, obviously the closest
Yeah,
ones.
so you usually laid out, like I said, in a cross. Their camps were with the tabernacle at the middle. And from what we researched, there could be way more to this. So look into it yourself as well. The Levites, being the priests, the ones who had the duty of everything in the temple, went right around it. And then the other tribes spread out north, south, east, west in the shape of a cross.
But it says that Judah would have been one of the more closer tribes.
Yeah, on the east side.
And so think about that. He's got to carry this. He's going to walk towards the temple
Either
of God.
past or towards, depending on which direction he's coming from here. But yeah.
So that's one of those. It's like blatantly in God's face. I'm not going to give this to you.
Yeah. But
And so-
again, like our whole point there was that like it starts in his tent and it spreads to the rest of the camp. Whereas Lot, it started with the camp and spread into his tent.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it the opposite way now.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Lot is he was encamped. People all around him were wicked, whereas this man is surrounded by people who are trying to honor God and put Him first.
Yeah.
But yet he's still harboring sin in here.
Right, which is a good thing for us to realize. Like, you're not solely escaping sin just because you've surrounded yourself with good. Like, that doesn't mean that you're immune to it.
Right. If you have sin in your tent, then it is sin against the whole camp.
Yeah, it can spread.
So think about Rahab. She's surrounded by all the brokenness, and yet because she kept her house clean and in order, God ordained her and brought her into the people of Israel. And now you have a man who is part of the people of Israel, has taken it for granted, and decided to harbor sin in his tent.
Yeah, this are meant to be contrasting before us.
Yeah.
And so what happens next is God says, hey, you guys need to consecrate yourselves, and then you're going to present yourselves in front of me in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to jump down to verse 16 of chapter 7, and it says, so Joshua arose early. Did you want to stop?
I was going to say this was the process to find out who in the world it was who had sinned against God. God says,
Right.
I want to show you. Go get cleaned up in the morning. Consecrate yourself. And so he's had all night, Achan has had all night to realize that God's found him out. 20 or 36 men are dead because of his actions, and he should fess up and say, hey guys, I made a mistake and I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done this. Here's what happened. But he doesn't. He continues to be quiet.
Well, this also says, like in verse 15, God says, this is what's going to happen. You're going to find out who it is, and then you're going to burn them.
Yeah,
They're going to die. Burn them, burn all that belongs to them,
Yeah.
and burn the things.
Yeah.
So verse 16 says, so Joshua arose early in the morning and brought Israel near by tribes, and the tribe of Judah was taken. Okay. He brought the family of Judah near, and he took the family of the Zerahites, and he brought the family of the Zerahites near. And anyway, it gets down to the point that it's
Achan.
Achan.
So, and all that was, okay, we have 12 tribes. Which tribe's it in? God says, go to Judah. Okay, we got so many families. It's this family. Okay, we got so many sub-families. Okay, go to that. And it's just this weeding down to, and it's Achan. It's that loser right there.
But at any point through this process,
He could have said,
he could have said, hey, don't make everybody keep presenting themselves and freaking out.
Yeah, he's just hiding it till he can't hide it no more.
Right. So when he gets found out.
Like a loser.
So let's see, it keeps going. Okay, yeah. So in verse 21, it says, so I'm just going to read 19.
Then it says, Joshua said to Achan, my son,
I implore you, give glory to the Lord and the God of Israel, and give praise to him, and tell me now what you have done. Do not hide it from me.
You hiding everything else.
So Achan answered Joshua
That was sarcasm.
and said, truly I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel, and this is what I did. When I saw among the spoil a beautiful mantle from the Shinar, and 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold, 50 shekels in weight, then I coveted them, and took them, and behold, they are concealed in the earth inside my tent with the silver underneath it.
So he took the things of God, and instead of them going into the temple of God, the tabernacle, not temple, the tabernacle of God, and being in the treasury of God, he sticks them in his house.
Yeah.
He has made himself,
He buries them.
that which was supposed to be given to God, he's made himself God, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm going to make, well,
And
I
the
will
thing
have
is,
nice things.
I think people would notice if he tried to bring them out. So they're not even useful to him. They're just something that he can look at and think, oh, or maybe he's storing them up as a security of oh, if something happens here, I've got stuff.
Yeah, we don't really know.
Everybody else gave their stuff away. We don't know what's going on. He obviously thought they were beautiful.
He coveted them.
Yeah. And thought, well, I want nice things.
Yeah. Which we all want nice things. But
right.
If you've already been warned and told to give it to the Lord, you give it to the Lord.
Yeah. So Joshua sends messengers, and they find exactly what Achan has said.
There it is. The scarf, the gold, and the silver underneath, buried in his tent. And his whole family, nobody's sitting there going what are you talking like? I don't believe that they did that. I think he walked in, Dad, what's that? Shut up, don't tell anybody.
Right.
Hand me that shovel, I'm digging a hole. Where did you get all that from? Shut up, we're not talking about it. And the wife's like, I thought it was supposed to be dedicated to God. He goes, we're dedicating it to ourselves. We need nice stuff too.
Right. Or his wife was like, good job, honey. You did good.
Yeah,
you brought it back for us. Who knows?
That scarf matches my eyes. I don't know.
Right. We have no idea.
Maybe not.
So then Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the silver, the mantle, the bar of gold, his sons, his daughters, his oxen, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and all that belonged to him. And they brought them up to the valley of Achor, which is called the valley of trouble because of this instance.
Yeah.
So Joshua said, why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. And all Israel stoned them with stones, and they buried them with fire burned them with fire after they had stoned them with stones. They raised over him a great heap of stones that stands to this day, and the Lord turned from the fierceness of his anger. Therefore, the name of this place has been called the Valley of Trouble to this day.
I guarantee you, if you had an archaeologist who would go to the Valley of Trouble today, actually find it and find that heap of stones, they would find silver and gold. It would be there.
Yeah.
In bones galore.
Yeah, and interesting that after it was decimated, it doesn't say return the silver and gold to the art, to the what's it called? The treasury of the Lord.
Right.
No, they're like, nope, that's not, God didn't need the money back. He didn't need the stuff back.
No. He said burn it.
He was more concerned with the heart.
Yeah.
And the heart was covetous.
Well, I think it was that thing too of God saying, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
It's not like God was broke.
But
God
he's
was
also saying that you don't need it either because I'm taking care of you.
Right. If you want it, you can die with it. And here's the thing, you can't take it with you when you're dead.
Right.
It does you no good. And you can see that if you fast forward to the story of Judas betraying Jesus. And he takes back the silver to the Pharisees and he says, I've betrayed innocent blood. And they say, what's that to us?
Yeah.
As take your gold or take your silver and go. And he just throws it into the house of the Lord. And then they go, oh no, we can't do anything with it because it's blood money.
Right.
And it's like, are you
So they knew
kidding?
it was wrong.
They
Like,
knew it was
yeah.
wrong. So then they buy a field so they can bury the wanderers, and so be very careful with trying to justify the stuff in your house, the stuff in your life.
Yeah.
Here, Achan, he's one man who sins. 36 men lose their lives.
Right.
He's one man who sins, and his whole family, his livestock, everything he owns is destroyed in fire.
Ruined. Like, that's the end. It's the end of his family line. That's the end of him. It's the end of everything. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And all because he said, I want three things. I want the linens, I want the gold, and I want the silver. It wasn't worth it.
No.
And so, because he did his sin, it cursed his home. Say it again. Because there was sin in his house, in his tent, it cursed his home, and it cursed the camp. I want you to think about, I'm going to get a little bit tangent here. If you're part of a church family, you can't have sin in your home. You may think to yourself that it's hidden. You may think to yourself that nobody knows what you're doing. You may think to yourself that it's not a big deal. But sin in the spirit world cannot be hidden. Okay? It is prevalent. It is everywhere. The enemy sees it. The enemy knows he has a stronghold. And the sin that you entertain in your home will cause brokenness and destruction in the other places of your life, especially in your church. And people will say, I don't know what's happening to our church. I don't know what's going on.
Right, because I think the most toxic thing is for, like, the church needs to be, the church should be converting the unhealthy to the healthy to continue to be able to do that. But if the unhealthy just get better at pretending to be healthy, then our church doesn't grow.
Right.
And it doesn't actually help anybody.
And we can see that with the Pharisees when Jesus goes, you're a bunch of whitewashed tombs. You look like you've got it
Look
together,
good on the
but you
outside.
don't. There's sin inside of you that's you're dying on the inside. It's killing you, and it's affecting everything in your life.
Yeah.
And so if you're part of an organization, if you're part of a business, if you've got a big family, whatever it may be, whatever you're involved in, the little sin you think that you're holding on to, oh man, it's causing issues. The word they used there was, because you have brought trouble upon us, may God bring trouble upon you. You ever seen one of those big cruise boats go blasting down the lake and it troubles the water?
Oh, yeah. I've been,
Yeah. You can sink a pontoon, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bad family story, but yeah.
But if you allow things to happen, you will trouble the waters, and it will cause such effects beyond what you can imagine. Who would have thought that a bar of gold, a bar of silver, or some silver, and a piece of clothing was going to be enough to kill 36 men and then all of his household and everything
Right,
else?
in the grand scheme, it was a very small amount,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. But a little sin
A little sin.
brings a lot of destruction.
Yeah, that was my thing, is a little sin in your camp will curse the whole camp.
Yeah. Little sin in your tent curses the whole camp.
That's what I meant, yeah, a little sin in your tent.
That's right.
But
Well-
yeah, and my other takeaway is you can think you're getting away with your sin, but it will eventually find you out.
Yeah. God knows. And God will reveal it.
Yeah.
So,
And so what's also really cool about this is right after this story, they go and they fight AI again and they smoke them.
oh yeah.
Like, they
Smoke
totally
AI.
win, no problem, not even a problem,
Yeah. That's wonderful.
because they got right with the Lord.
Yeah. If you need victory in your world today, if you need victory in your household, if you need to see God move and might, clean the house. Whatever should be out, get it out. Don't
Yeah.
covet things. Don't make gods out of things. Don't make yourself God, thinking that you deserve all the nice stuff. Instead,
Right.
give it unto the Lord and allow Him to be king in your home.
Yeah, and don't be selfish enough to believe, or naive enough to believe, that your sin only affects you.
Yeah. It's getting everybody. So with that, hope you're encouraged. Hope you know we
That was
love
another
you.
dark one. Sorry, guys.
Maybe tomorrow we'll keep it peppy. We'll see.
We'll see. What we actually were talking about. We're kind of going backwards a little bit. We didn't do this in order. We're gonna go back to Exodus tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we'll see you tomorrow as we go back to Exodus.
Yeah.
All right. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.